I'm going to share a story with you today for math. All you'll need is a piece of paper to write on and a pencil. This is the story of the tiny tumblers. In a land far, far away, there are many mountains. We're going to draw 3 mountains. So a mountain is kind of just like a triangle with no bottom, really. There's 2 mountains. There's our third mountain. At the top of each mountain, in little cozy places, tiny tumblers live. Does anyone know what tumbling means? Tumbling is like rolling over and over and over and over. You might tumble out of your chair, or you might tumble down a hill, or you might tumble down a mountain. Tiny tumblers tumble for fun. Each mountain has a different number of tiny tumblers on it. On this mountain, 6 tiny tumblers live. And on this mountain, 10 tiny tumblers live. We don't know how many on this one yet. We're saving this one for later. Each morning, after eating a good breakfast, the tiny tumblers wash, brush their teeth, and do their daily chores. Then the tiny tumblers roll down their math mountain to play on its sides. Some tiny tumblers roll down one side of the mountain, and the rest of the tiny tumblers roll down the other side of the mountain. So that's the story of the tiny tumblers. You have already done a page or two in your math that has these mountains and the tiny tumblers. And on these mountains, we know how many tiny tumblers live. And then we also know how many are playing on each side. But we don't have those numbers. We know how many tiny tumblers live, but we don't know how many are playing on each side. So I'm going to give you some numbers here that you can write at the bottom of your mountain. We're going to write 4 and 2. So on this mountain, 6 tiny tumblers live. This is home to 6 of them. And when they're all done with their morning stuff, 4 of them roll down and tumble and play on this side. So we have to draw 4. And that's where those tiny tumblers play. And then after chores and morning stuff, 2 of them roll down on this side of the mountain. And so how many will we have to draw? When we add these tiny tumblers with these tiny tumblers, we get how many that live on the mountain, and that's 6. Let's count them to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's why I have put a plus sign here, because when we put these 2 groups back together, we get that number of how many live on the mountain. On this mountain, how many tiny tumblers live? 10 of them. And then I'm going to give you some numbers to put on the bottom. So for this mountain, I think 6 will play on this side and 4 will play on this side. So how many tiny tumblers do we need to draw? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then how many tiny tumblers play on this side of the mountain? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if we put these tiny tumblers back together, we should get how many live on the mountain, which is 10. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got it. And what we did was plus, plus, plus. We didn't take any away. On the last math mountain, we're going to choose the number that we put on top. And to choose the number, I want you to think of how many people live in your house. So you are going to be kind of like the tiny tumblers. Do you have 5 people in your house? Do you have 6 people in your house? Do you have 2 people in your house? I'm going to do how many people I had when I was growing up, because that's a few more people. I have had 5 people living in my house. So on this math mountain, there's going to be 5 tiny tumblers who live here. It's kind of like my family. And then I'm going to decide how many tiny tumblers should roll down each side. So since I'm making this up, I might want to use objects to help me decide how many should go on each side. Let me grab some objects. All right, so I got my squares, and I should have 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's my 5 squares. I'm going to use them to help me decide how many should go on each side of the mountain. And I get to make it up myself. So I'm going to put 2 on this side and 3 on this side. So 2 tiny tumblers here and 1, 2, 3 tiny tumblers over here. And then I want to make sure that that's still 5 altogether because only 5 live on this mountain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. All right. So once you've done those 3, we're going to do a few more that I'm going to give you and you draw for. So pause the video if you need to finish up, if you need to do how your last math mountain here, and then we'll come back together. Okay, so on the other side of your paper, I would like you to try 3 more math mountains, and I'm going to give you the numbers. You don't have to make any up. You just need to figure out how many to draw, how many tiny tumblers. So this mountain there's going to be 10 tiny tumblers that live on this mountain. And on this mountain, only 7 live. And on this last one, we're going to do 6. So make your 3 mountains and then put the number of tiny tumblers who live there on top. So 10 live here, write the number 10. 7 live here, and 6 live here. And remember to pause the video if you need more time. Now I'm going to tell you how many are going to roll down each side of the mountain. We've been working with our partners of 10 quite a bit. So I'm going to put 8 on this side. I wonder if you already know what goes with 8 when we're finding partners of 10. Like 1 and 9 go together, 4 and 6. 5 and 5. What goes with 8? If you said 2, you are right. So for our tiny tumblers, for our 10 tiny tumblers, 8 are going to go this way and 2 are going to go this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 2 here. 1, 2. Now we should make sure, I always love to double check to make sure that we have the right amount because only 10 live here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We do. Pause if you need to finish this one up, and then we'll move to 7. On this mountain, we have 7 tiny tumblers, so I'm going to put 4 on this side and 3 on this side. And I'm just making these numbers up. They're not coming from anywhere. I'm thinking of my partners of 7. So we need how many tiny tumblers? 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many on this side? 3. And let's make sure that's only 7 altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I can put my plus sign just to remind myself that we're going to put them back together then to make sure we have 7. Pause the video if you need to finish the middle mountain. And then we're going to do the last mountain. All right, so here we have 6 tiny tumblers that live on this last mountain. So I'm going to put these 2 numbers, 2 tiny tumblers over here and 5 tiny tumblers over here. And then we draw. 1, 2. And over here we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we should always make sure that when we add them back up together, we get how many live on the mountain. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7? Do 7 tiny tumblers live on this mountain? No, it's only supposed to be 6. But 7 is bigger than 6. So how am I going to fix this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What if I erase this extra one? Now how many do I have over here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I was off by 1 on this side. And that happens sometimes. That's why we double check to make sure we only have the amount that lived there of the tiny tumblers. And we use our eraser to fix that up. So now let's try one more time, see if we have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 plus 4 of our tiny tumblers equal all 6 that live on the mountain.